Hello YouTube fans and welcome to Retire in Lake Chapala, where we provide you with all the information you need to make informed decisions about moving to Lake Chapala. Today we were fortunate enough to have Russ with us. Russ is a newcomer to Lake Chapala and he's going to tell us what he thinks about living in Lake Chapala. So Russ, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself. Why did you come to Ahihic?
Well, I came to Ahihic. We looked at retiring in the States and started searching for a place with a perfect climate. And this one pops up all over the internet as a wonderful climate location. And then we came and visited 2 years in a row and found that the people here and the environment here were just absolutely perfect for our retirement.
Mm-hmm. So it's lived up to your expectations?
It's exceeded our expectations. We were expecting something to be wonderful, but it's turned out to be even better than what we expected.
Mm-hmm. So what has appealed to you most about living here, do you think?
Well, I think one of the big things is that the people of Mexico, and in particular this region along Lakeside, really have a wonderful relationship between cultures from the United States, Canada, Mexico, Europe, wherever. And the people get along and everybody functions very well together. What you may have heard of maybe in other parts of Mexico, you just don't find here. Everybody is wonderful with everyone else.
Mm-hmm. And do you find yourself missing the U.S. at all?
Not at all. We thought we would. We still have children and grandchildren in the U.S., but what we found is that the access from here, Lakeside, is so good to get back to the U.S. via commercial flights that if we have a desire to see our grandkids, we can fly back. But realistically, it's so nice here that it's very hard for us to leave, and we miss it terribly when we're gone, even for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. How are you enjoying the development that you picked out here?
We picked out a tremendous development. We're in what is referred to here as a fraccionamento, which is like a condo, except that all of the houses are custom houses inside of this condo association. We have great amenities, and it is a flourishing community made up of Mexicans, Canadians, Americans, and even a few Europeans. So it's truly a wonderful place to live.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. So you went through the buying process in Mexico, and what were your experiences like?
Well, we had the wonderful opportunity to work with you in Michaela on a realtor that really came to understand exactly what we were looking for and went above and beyond to find a location that wasn't necessarily listed on the multi-list and wasn't as well advertised as others, but it turned out that it was absolutely perfect. And we did this over the course of a few days in being able to narrow down the location to our current home.
Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly is a nice home, but no home is totally perfect. I mean, you had to do a few little odds and ends and touch-ups to it and things that you want to change as well. And so what were your experiences like with the workers and, the workers in general, the Mexican workers?
The Mexican workers. Well, contrary to maybe a stereotype in the United States, Mexican workers work extremely hard, and they have just a pleasant demeanor the entire time that they're working. We have found that we used a customized painter to be able to paint our bedroom and our bathroom in a beautiful, vivid color that was absolutely perfect. And he worked with us on paint color selection for many hours. We also had someone do some work on the outside of the house and ended up painting the entire house on the outside, which has worked out very well. We replaced a couple of appliances, and in doing that, again, the support that we've had from the community and from the workers that have been assembled have been fantastic. So we have nothing but compliments to say about everyone that we've had involved here. And a few of the recommendations, to be honest with you, have come from you and Michaela.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now it encompass your maid and gardener and those kind of household help, the normal day-to-day household help that you have?
Yes. We have a maid come in once a week, and then we have a gardener come 2 times a week. Both of them, again, are wonderful. Our garden was very overgrown, and our gardener has come in, done a wonderful job. He even built a standalone fountain from scratch that provides us with the background noise that we love, and so we couldn't be happier.
Mm-hmm. You've been here how long now?
A little less than a year.
A little less than a year. So what have you found the cost of living to be like in general?
In general, the cost of living is less. Gasoline is a touch higher, but we don't drive nearly as much as we did in the States. We've also found that any type of fresh vegetables, fresh meat, far less expensive and actually far better. The chemicals and the preservatives that you see in the United States just aren't here. On the plus side, we have been able to find virtually every little sort of unique food that we love in the United States. Things that are like Chex Mix or something along the lines of Velveeta cheese. Mm-hmm. You can find it here lakeside. Now, some things are a little more expensive, but those little reminders of home make it so that we have not felt like that we've been limited at all in our selection. And again, the prices and the quality of the food are outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly have lots of different food choices here because it's been an expat community for so long. We get so many options available to us here.
Well, and the other thing that is just stunning here is that the city that we moved from was roughly the same size as Lakeside. Mm-hmm. And the number of restaurants here and the quality and variety of the restaurants is just amazing. We have one fast food restaurant here in Lakeside, and that is a Subway. But other than that, we have home-cooked locations throughout, featuring a variety of food types, and every place that we've been has been absolutely delicious.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's certainly an accurate statement, I think.
Well,
what it's like living here.
And we came from a college town where it was almost all fast food and processed food and chains, and it's been a very welcome relief to have quality restaurants virtually anywhere within the Lakeside community.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people are scared to make this move. I mean, this is a gigantic change to move to a different country. And, you know, there's a lot of fear, just simply fear. And so I'm just wondering what challenge is it, the hardest challenge that you faced in making this move?
Well, I think that we originally drove back and forth, and certainly a 3-day drive is challenging. But short of that, what we've really found is that if you look around, for instance, I'll give you a great example. People are afraid of the fact that they may have to be forced into learning Spanish. And my wife and I have both taken a lot of Spanish, and so we enjoy speaking conversational Spanish. But day to day, you can get by speaking nothing but English here, especially here in the Ajijic. And so that's a big fear that was literally overcome right away. Another thing that you may be worried about is crime. We've virtually seen no crime since we've been here. The murder rate back in the area that we came from in the States it was over 1 murder per day in the first month of the year here in 2022, and yet I can't think of a single murder in the entirety of Jalisco, and certainly not here in Lakeside. Mm-hmm. So crime is not a factor here at all. Now, again, if you're along the border towns, I'm sure that it would be a bit of an issue, but here it's just not an issue. And the last thing that we've found is that the weather, while it was advertised to be great, is spectacular. We've been in the 70s every day here in January. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and it gets down cool at night, but it's not too cold. And so it's been a wonderful experience, you know, completely wonderful. And our expectations again have exceeded what we thought we would have.
Well, that's nice to hear. But you know, no place is Shangri-La. Russ, I mean, there must be some things that bother you about Mexico. What might some of those things be?
Well, there's some cultural things that are a little bit different here in Mexico. For one thing, the roads are not nearly what you would find in the States. Most of the roads off of the main road here are cobblestone, and I will say that cobblestone probably requires more maintenance, and certainly it gets a little less maintenance here. So the roads and the streets can be a little bit difficult and challenging. We fortunately brought a car that has a good suspension, and so it's been an easy transition for us. The main carretera, or the main highway through all of the towns here Lakeside, does carry a tremendous amount of traffic at times. And so that can be a little bit daunting, especially if you're trying to go from one side of town to another. The other thing that I think is a little bit challenging at first when you're just trying to get accustomed to it is that there's a certain part of Mexican culture where people are not terribly willing to tell you no. And so you have to learn through that. And we have not had extensive problems with that, but I have other friends that have run into it a great deal, and we usually can get to some agreement if somebody can't do something, we find out about it pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. After my 8 years here, I've found that obviously they won't say no, but they'll agree to come. But if they don't come, that's a no. So if they don't come for their appointment, you can move on to someone else because obviously they're not interested in the job or whatever it is
Well, and
that
part
you
of
want
it,
from them. So.
at least coming from the United States, in the United States, everything is a very competitive, go culture. And so when you come down here, you learn that if somebody says they'll be here between 12 and 2 and they show up at 2:30, it's not that big a deal.
No, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
At least they showed up.
They showed up, and you learn that, and I've had the same situation when I'm trying to get to an appointment. I may be going to a doctor's appointment or a haircut appointment or whatever, and I get stuck on the carretera, and it takes me a little longer, but it doesn't interfere with life. It actually contributes to a more relaxed state of your life because you're not always trying to be somewhere constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're doing this video because, we want to let people know what it's like down here in Lake Chapala.
Yes.
Is there any advice that you can give to people, if we went back 2 years now, what kind of advice would you thought would be appreciated, not knowing and not living here yet?
Well, I can tell you one thing is that as you're driving through the areas and you see a place that's under construction, don't consider it. There are a couple of condominium developments here that have been under construction for 2 years, mm-hmm. and they have 1 or 2 workers a day working on them, and these are multi-story buildings. And so whatever promise that you may have that something will be available at a particular time, I found it to be much more relaxing to be able to look at places that were already completed or were very close to completion in being able to evaluate real estate. The other thing that I could say is that I would come to the area at least once to be able to experience it before you just go on the internet and buy a place. I think that also when you're looking at areas to buy in, looking at a particular type of town and thinking about what kinds of services and conveniences you want nearby is very high. In our particular location, we have groceries, we have the market, the weekly market that is on the streets is literally within walking distance. We have a Walmart and a shopping center nearby. So we've been very comfortable having those things nearby. If I was far outside of town, or maybe in one of the cities or districts at the far ends of the development, so here along Lakeside, I probably would not be as happy having to commute into and out of the main shopping areas as I am living here where we do.
Yeah, all excellent advice, Russ, and it's why we do retirement seminars as well, as to introduce people to all the different areas and all different communities, and try to find a match for you. I mean, not everybody likes Ahiheek Village. Other people want to be outside of town. So during the seminar, we'll look at all those kind of different options for you and different housing options too, because there's a lot of different housing options.
Well, and you and Michaela had worked with us, and we had sort of determined that Upper Ahiheek was our primary destination. And so virtually all the properties that you showed us were in this area, and they were varied in ways that were just unbelievable. Some of them had great views, some of them had great amenities, some of them had pools in their yards, some were large, some were smaller. But by being able to specifically focus on Upper Ahiheek, we were able to really accomplish a lot in a short period of time working with you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Russ, for joining us today. I'm going to turn the camera around, give you folks a little look at Russ's beautiful view that we're looking at right now. It's absolutely gorgeous up here. Again, thank you very much for joining us on the show, and we'll see you next time.
I enjoyed being with you. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you. Bye-bye.